who is in charge of making all this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. 저는 한국말로 하겠습니다. 네. 일단 올해 2015년 저희가 9개 국가에 지금 50개 팀이 보육을 성공적으로 마치셨습니다. 지금 아직 샹하이하고 인도, 베트남에서는 아직 진행이 되고 있고요. 12월쯤 되면 다 끝날 것 같습니다. 제가 평가 때는 다 조금씩 뵀었는데 오늘 대표님들이 또 안 오신 팀도 있고 해서 간단히 오늘 이 PR 홍보 쪽을 왜 하는지를 설명을 드릴게요. 저희가 이제 현지에서 엑셀러레이팅을 받게끔 저희가 지원을 해드렸고요. 또 올해 많은 큰 성과를 올린 것 같습니다. 아직 중간 집계지만 벌써 우리 돈으로 하면 약 160억 정도의 투자 유치가 있었습니다. 근데 그게 지금 50개 팀 전부가 아니고 일부 중간 조사인데도 지금 한 160억 정도 투자 유치가 일어났고 법인 설립도 상당히 지금 작년까지에 비해서는 활발하게 지금 이루어지고 있고 또 대부분 또 법인 설립을 준비하는 걸로 알고 있습니다. 그래서 이렇게 이제 성공적으로 보육을 마치셨는데 이제 이게 끝이 아니잖아요. 그래서 이제 스타트업들 이제 출발하시기 때문에 홍보를 저희가 좀 도와드리자 해서 저희가 PR 이제 전문 에이전시를 저희가 이제 선정을 했는데 기왕이면 저희가 일반적인 홍보 뭐 이런 거보다는 스타트업 뭐 미디어 쪽에서 활약을 하셨던 그래서 지금 아까 소개해드렸지만 G3 파트너스에 이제 하고 아프라 벤처스의 컨소시움으로 해서 저희가 PR 에이전시를 선정을 했습니다. 그러면 이제 이분들이 뭘 도와드릴 거냐면은 일단은 50개 팀 전부 개별 팀별로 보일러 플레이트라는 그 홍보 기초 자료를 작성을 해드릴 겁니다. 이미 여러분들이 다 입력을 하셨을 텐데 그 자료를 기초로 해서 기업별 특성을 감안해서 그 기본적인 그 홍보 자료를 작성을 해드릴 거고요. 이 자료를 여러분들이 활용해서 어느 미디어에 이제 뿌릴 수 있도록 미디어도 이제 소개를 해드릴 거고요. 그 다음에 이제 블로그 마케팅도 같이 할 거고, 그 다음에 이제 우수 창업팀은 저희가 한 12개 정도 지금 예상하고 있는데 12개 정도를 뽑아서 석세스 스토리를 또 만들 겁니다. 그래서 이제 그렇게 가는데 저희가 이게 단편적으로 홍보를 해드리면은 바로 뭐 저희 뭐 흔히 아시듯이 뭐 리플렛이나 뭐 광고, 일회성 광고 이렇게 해갖고는 사실 저희가 뭐 예산도 끝없이 들어가게 되고 해서 스타트업 여러분들한테 간단히 컨설팅을 해드릴 겁니다. 그러니까 이제 오후에는 아까 말씀드린 1대1 코칭을 이렇게 여기 계신 분들이 해드릴 거고요. 그래서 이 부분을 오늘 많이 안 오셨는데 이 부분을 충분히 활용하시면은 여러분들 그 비즈니스 하실 때 상당히 큰 도움이 될 걸로 보입니다. 또 한 가지는 제가 지금 이제 작업은 어느 정도 돼 있는데 내년에는 이 해외에 엑셀러레이팅 지원해주는 사업 말고 또 다른 이제 신규 사업이 와서 해외 진출하시고자 하시는 분들을 위해서 예를 들어서 뭐 제품이나 서비스를 갖다가 지금 3개월 보육 기간 동안 피보팅을 많이 하셨잖아요. 이제 그거에 따라서 뭐 좀 개발에 수정을 가하신다든지 제품에 수정을 가하신다든지 보완을 가하신다든지 하실 때 저희가 내년에 신규 프로젝트에서 선정이 되시면은 엑셀러레이팅 사업을 받으셨어도 그 신규 사업에는 신청을 하실 수 있게끔 지금 할 예정입니다. 그래서 여러분들이 글로벌 시장에 그 소프트 랜딩 할 수 있도록 안착할 수 있도록 하는 신규 프로젝트 또 그 예산이 준비가 돼 있습니다. 그래서 많이 관심 가져주시고 오늘 혹시 이제 대표님 안 오신 기업들은 대표님께 꼭 이 부분 전달해 주시고 그 다음에 저희가 이메일이나 문자로 많이 지금 발송을 해드렸는데 여기 오신 분들은 다행인데 많이들 이메일이 막 쌓이다 보니까 바쁘시고 해갖고 안 읽으시더라고요. 근데 좀 안타깝습니다. 저희 이 좋은 기회가 많거든요. 지금 뭐 예산도 새로 좀 증액이 됐고 해서 이 부분들을 충분히 활용하시면은 여러분들 뭐 저도 글로벌 시장 어려운 거 알고 있습니다만은 그 부분에도 확실히 좀 성과를 보이실 것 같습니다. 그래서 오늘은 이제 오전에 에릭 코넬리우스 씨가 이제 좀 설명을 드리고요. 그다음에 혹시 그 영어 이해에 문제가 좀 계시면은 그냥 솔직히 좀 손을 들어주시면 될 것 같습니다. 저희가 왜냐하면 지금 외국인들이기 때문에 영어로 진행을 하는데 만약에 필요하면 중간에 저희가 약간 통역을 해드리려고 하거든요. 네, 전부 영어 잘하신 네? 예. 그 혹시 영어 이해가 어려우시면 약간 통역을 해드리려고 그래요. 필요하시겠어요, 통역이? 야, 알겠습니다. 그러면은 한 분이신가요? Okay, we need a translation. 예, 그러면 어떤 형태로는 제가 옆에서 제가 옆에서 도와드리든지 할 테니까요. 그렇게 하시고 다른 분은 없으신가요? 예, 그러시면은 저랑 같이 모여가지고 제가 통역 전문은 아니지만 그 스토리는 대강 설명을 해드릴게요. 그러니까 뭐 전체적으로는 아니지만 그럼 같이 좀 앉으시면 좋을 것 같습니다. 저하고. 네, 감사합니다. 네.
So now I'll hand the mic over to Nathan Millard, my business partner, who will guide you through what PR is and why, as a startup, you may need PR.
So we made the dangerous assumption that if you're going to be doing global PR, that you would be able to understand English. So we will have Jade here, who will be able to provide some translation if it's required. We will also, I'll go through this as slowly as possible. If you do have questions, feel free to ask as well. And we'll have some time at the end, and obviously the one-to-one sessions where you can ask questions as well. So as Eric introduced, I'm Nathan Millard, the CEO of G3 Partners. We founded G3 Partners beginning of this year to help Korean and Asian startups with global PR and communications. So today we'll be split into two sessions. The first session is explaining a little bit about what PR is and how it can be used. And then the second session will be more practical insight into how to actually do PR. So in the first session, we'll be focusing on these things. What is PR? What does PR actually do? Why do you need it? Many people are a little confused about the difference between PR and marketing. So we'll focus on that very briefly. And then go into some examples of when you need PR as well. So, many people think that PR stands for press release, which is actually not true. PR is much more than just producing press releases. Does anyone have any idea what PR stands for? Very good. Public relations. Okay. So, PR is much more than just getting published in traditional media, newspapers, TV, and whatnot. So PR goes much beyond that. It's really a communication strategy that helps you communicate with stakeholders in many areas. And we've created this description of what PR is. We've called it at G3 Partners the art of persuasion. So PR professionals aim to persuade people and influence beliefs. And ultimately, this is useful because it helps to change people's behavior and helps them take actions which benefit your company. So ultimately, PR is a good PR strategy will help you achieve actual business aims. Many people ask, do startups need PR? Many large corporations like Samsung spend millions of dollars every year on PR. And startups often ask, is PR going to be useful for my company? We've only been around for a year or two. How can PR actually help my business? So, here's some examples of why I think that PR would be useful even for an early stage startup. PR can help to persuade users to download your app or visit your website, which obviously helps to drive growth. It can encourage VCs to invest in your company. If you're running a crowdfunding campaign, PR is very useful in driving contributions from around the world. It can help to persuade partners to sign agreements with you, whether that's domestically in your own country or overseas. It can help persuade the general public that your brand is a trustful brand, and obviously this is very important as well. And it can even help to convince amazing people to leave high-paid jobs in Samsung, for example, to come and join your little startup. And we'll explain a little bit more about that a bit later on. So ultimately, I think that PR is a very valuable tool for early stage startups as well. And I can see a couple of people taking notes. These slides will be available for you at the end of the presentation, so you don't need to capture all the information. We'll be giving it to you. We're also recording the session, so you'll have access to the video as well. So, differences between corporate PR and startup PR. I think that corporate PR helps existing brands interact with the public and maintains or boosts brand value. So obviously a brand like Samsung, Microsoft, Apple, Coca-Cola, all of these brands, everybody knows them, and so PR helps them maintain their brand, whereas startup PR is much more about establishing a brand that doesn't exist in the public consciousness. So PR can help break stories about a new business to build awareness. And ultimately, if no one knows you exist, they cannot take actions which help you build your business. So that's what PR is really all about, persuading people to take actions which help the growth of your company. So, does PR work, you might ask? In many cases, PR works incredibly effectively. One good article placement can have a dramatic impact on the growth of your business. We'll show a few examples of how this actually works a little bit later on. But PR can have a very profound impact on increasing your brand value, helping you interact with the public. And many people believe a well-placed article in the likes of Forbes, the Wall Street Journal, TechCrunch, much more than they would believe an advertisement that you actually create. Many writers are very well known, and if people see an article from these writers on a top publication, they tend to trust what the article says. Again, touching very briefly on the difference between PR and marketing, I think that PR and marketing, they go hand in hand. I think they're good friends. Without marketing, PR is not as effective. And again, without PR, marketing efforts are not as effective. PR helps to develop relationships, whereas marketing sells products and services. So PR is not designed as a sales tool. But it does complement your marketing efforts. So there are good times and bad times to chase PR, to look for coverage. I think that startups, right from their very beginning, should consider PR and should start building their PR strategy. But really, until you've got customers, until you've got proof of concept, going out and getting published can be a little bit dangerous even. If you imagine that you've just released the first version of your application on the App Store, and you get a lot of PR, and there's still bugs in the app, and it doesn't work and it crashes, the resulting PR from that experience can actually be quite negative. So when you do PR, you want to make sure that it's actually the right time in your business. And if you have questions about when you should start doing PR, we can talk about that in the one-to-ones later. So, technology and entrepreneurship is a huge global theme these days. There's a lot of noise in tech press. It's quite difficult to get published, and even if you do, the published articles can disappear quite quickly. So, ways to get above the noise. These are some examples of when you might use PR. Obviously, we mentioned product launches, product updates, any company announcements, whether you're setting up an office in a new market, maybe you're looking to hire some new people. PR can help you attract top candidates. It can obviously help you to get investment from VCs. And even signing major partnerships. If you've just signed a partnership deal with Google or Samsung, this is a good opportunity to get some PR. And ultimately, when your company is acquired or goes public, that is the ultimate opportunity for PR as well. So next we have a few examples of PR. These are projects that we've worked on with clients, Korean clients. So the first one, startups that I speak to, many of them have this dream of getting featured on TechCrunch. Hands up if you've heard of TechCrunch before. Everybody. Okay, good. So TechCrunch is almost like a rite of passage for startups. Getting featured on TechCrunch is one of the first major milestones for many companies, but it's incredibly difficult. TechCrunch, they're based in San Francisco, and really they don't care too much about what happens in Asia, unfortunately. I think they should, because there's a lot of interesting stories coming out of the startup ecosystem in Asia. But it's very difficult to get onto TechCrunch. So here's an example of how we helped one of our clients get featured on TechCrunch. So the process, I will tell you, took around 6 months. Thank you very much. So it wasn't a short process, but the results were really quite astounding. I'd prepared a press release for a client. The client is actually Cloud Ike. You can still find this article on TechCrunch, of course. They were looking to build their brand outside of Korea. They'd established a brand in Korea. They'd raised some investment. They had some initial customers. And they wanted to increase their brand presence outside Korea. And obviously, TechCrunch is a great platform on which to do so. So we prepared a press release, sent it through to a TechCrunch writer. No response. Sent it through again, no response. Sent it through a month later, still no response. 6 months later, TechCrunch Disrupt was happening in San Francisco. And I realized that the writer that I'd been connecting with was going to be at the event, as was our client. They had a booth at TechCrunch Disrupt. And we've had a power failure. The writer and the startup were going to be at TechCrunch, so I was able to connect the two. The result was that an article was published on TechCrunch, and the startup was astounded by the impact of this one article. Literally the next day, qualified inquiries for their enterprise solution increased 10 times. Now, this was not a marketing exercise. They paid very, very little for the one press release. but the impact was huge. So this is an example of how PR can be very effective. It also highlights the fact that PR companies in many cases cannot guarantee coverage, and that sometimes it does take quite a bit of effort and time to achieve the top publication that you're looking for. And here's another example. Zicto, you may have heard of. They're a hardware startup in Korea. They've been around now for, I guess, around 2 years. And we were helping them with their crowdfunding campaign just over a year ago. So again, with crowdfunding, you've got a very short time frame in which to raise all of the funds. So a lot of press coverage during the crowdfunding campaign can really help to boost the outcome. So again, here, the PR we supported with was actually only one article. It was an article placement on VentureBeat, and the team at Zicto believed that this one article resulted in around $30,000 worth of contributions to their campaign. So again, it had a big impact, just the one article. Now, the team had actually previously visited the VentureBeat offices in San Francisco, and even that didn't manage to secure them coverage on VentureBeat. So when they got back to Korea, they approached me for some help, and I wrote up a press release, sent it through to the writers at VentureBeat, and within a few hours they'd published on the platform. And I think this is a good example of how a good PR professional can help you achieve better results than you can on your own. So despite the fact that the team had actually visited VentureBeat's offices, they weren't able to get coverage. Now, I'm not exactly sure what it was that I did to eventually secure them coverage, but I suspect that it was my ability to write a good article, an article that was relevant to the readership on VentureBeat, and also because I had a personal relationship with a number of the writers there. So if you are reaching out to a PR company, really make sure that they understand your business, that they have the relevant press connections that will help you get published on top platforms. So that was the example of helping Zicto get published on VentureBeat. Ultimately, the campaign raised over $160,000 and helped them fund initial production. And they've actually just finished their shipments recently. Here's another example as well. So Solar Paper is, again, a Korean hardware startup. We were working with their campaign a few months ago, and this was probably one of our biggest success stories to date in our first year. This company ended up raising just over $1 million from over 6,000 people. So 6,000 backers, 6,000 initial customers over the course of about 4 or 5 weeks, when their product was still in the prototype stage. Now, if you think about it, that's pretty incredible to get over $1 million in pre-orders while your product is still in the prototype stage. So how was this achieved? First of all, cannot be underplayed that the product itself was incredibly good, incredibly strong product. But I think PR really helped to power their campaign past $1 million. We sent out a newswire at the very beginning of their campaign, which helped to get them into around 100 to 150 blogs globally, and then really pushed their PR efforts throughout the entire campaign, including on social media. So we were able to secure publication of articles about their campaign at least every week, maybe 1 or 2 articles every week, which really helped to power their campaign to success. And these are the resulting stats. Over 6,000 pre-orders with over $1 million pledged. So, there's a few examples of how PR can actually help you raise money and achieve business goals. If you're still not convinced, I have an example here of an actual company. I'll just plunge straight into it. So, this again is an Asian startup. This screenshot and these comments were searched by me on Google. I basically typed in the company's name, and this was the first hit on Google. So this was how the company was portraying itself just after they'd done a global launch. Now, I'm sure you can understand that this is probably not the best image that you want to create in the public immediately after your global launch. I don't think I need to go through those comments. So you might think, okay, well, this is written by some random blogger who obviously doesn't like the service. So obviously the company would be able to talk about themselves in the public in a much more positive light. So I went over to their Google Play download site. Now, bearing in mind that this is where customers actually decide whether or not to download your app. So communicating very effectively with target customers is really important. And unfortunately, the company didn't do too much better here even though there was just a few lines talking about their service, it was not described in a very convincing or positive way. Here's the special place to make new relationship with everyone. What does that even mean? Someone become BFF, someone become lovers in 1 km. This is just not very convincing. And for people, if you're targeting the US market, this is not going to help you get downloads. So even if you have a couple of press releases out and you're driving traffic to your page, this will not convince, this will not persuade people to actually download your app. So you can see here that with a little bit of effort from either your internal team, from someone who speaks English fluently that you might know, you could really improve the perception that you're giving on your download page on Google Play or the App Store. It really wouldn't take a lot of effort, and it certainly wouldn't cost a lot of money. Okay, so that's it for the first session. We'll maybe take some questions from you. Well, Sejong, do we have any questions about the first session? So this was talking about what is PR, why you would need it, and when you would need it. Does anyone have any questions about the first session? Feel free to raise your hand. We're here to answer. Eric, anything you'd like to add at this stage?
Actually, every startup tries to do PR.
Yeah.
With the same, almost with the same way. So,
Yeah.
what do you think? How can we make it attractive, more attractive? So I think that is, it's a basic. Right?
Yeah.
So
So in the next session, this session was about what is PR, why do you use it, and when you can use it. The next session is going to be actually how to do it. So in the next session, we'll try to answer that question very clearly. We're also going to be providing you with press release templates and a sample press list. So you should be able to conduct your own PR yourself using these resources that we're going to give you. Obviously understanding what PR is the first stage, but understanding how to do it effectively is perhaps even more important. So we will be covering that in the next session. Yeah.
In case of hardware startup, when I should contact the PR agent in the development phase or after the prototype?
So building a press network is very important. It takes a long time. With the example with CloudIke that I had earlier, it took 6 months to get them published. So I would say that really as soon as you are getting towards the completion of your prototype stage, it's worth building your press network and reaching out to press. That doesn't mean send them a press release straight away, but start reaching out to them, start finding out which writers are going to be interested in your product when it launches, record their contact information, and start building a relationship. So this means, you know, maybe sending them an email once a month with a short update about what you're doing, connecting with them on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, starting to read their other articles and commenting on those articles. So you can start with the outreach process very early, but in terms of getting actual publication, you probably want to wait until you're ready to launch your product. Whether that's on a crowdfunding site or whether you're going through other distribution channels, you probably want to wait until customers can actually buy your product before you get publication.
A lot of times we say that a really good article is 10,000 opportunities to make a good first impression, or 10,000 opportunities to make a bad first impression. So it's really important to be ready. So yeah, that you make a really good first impression.
Ready to sell.
Not necessarily ready to sell, but close. Show them something impressive.
Yeah, 10,000 opportunities to make a good or a bad impression. This is a good example. It would have taken a native English speaker 5 minutes to make this download page, the few sentences, much better. But obviously, people landing on this page probably would have been confused about what the app is and probably would not have downloaded it. Okay, any other questions?
5-minute break, and then there's some drinks back here if you're thirsty.
Okay, great. So we'll break off for 5 minutes, and we'll come back in 5 minutes. There's some drinks on the table there. Thank you.